We are currently facing absolute chaos in the UK police, from the Metropolitan Police and all the other police forces, on so many different levels when it comes to corruption, misconduct, and of course, recruitment. Because on the one hand, they went a bit woke when it comes to recruiting police officers. So they went with the rainbow and non-white people and everything else. But at the same time, they've been struggling with recruiting police officers. It's no longer an attractive profession. So the police have been given a massive target now by the Home Secretary Suella Braverman to hire more police officers again. So what they've decided to do, these idiots, they've gone back to the failed applicants, the ones that even the police management and leadership, it wasn't good enough for them. You know what I mean? Getting into the police has been chaotic over the last few years, but they've decided to go back and call the rogue applicants, the failed applicants, to come back. Now, some people said, "Oh, okay, these were the white straight men who they failed in the first place." Then we actually looked into it, like, actually, that's not the reality. Of course, there's a big element of white straight men who were rejected in certain areas, certain parts of the country, especially London Met, but not everywhere. Most of them failed the applications because they were not good enough. But the ones who were recruited were also not good enough. Because of what I'm about to expose in this video, I'm going to give you an example of a few police forces around the country, from the Midlands to Essex and Kent, who have been causing so much trouble with the way they've been recruiting police officers, and you would not believe this video. So, for example, when it comes to Baroness Casey, and you obviously did this review of the police, we already discovered that everything, the corruption and the criminals who posed and pretended to be very concerned citizens who want to work in the police, they got involved. They became police officers and they committed crimes as police officers. That's still happening. And I think, okay, let's go and find more rogue people, because we have to hit the target. The pressure to hit the target, instead of actually finding a new way, a long-term plan to actually educate people and make sure that the police force is safe and is attractive, and make sure you actually go around, scout people and find the right people with the right values. No. Let's just pretend that we're going to go through everybody, but actually we're going to go through the existing paperwork and all the current applications and old applications. So, for example, Essex and Kent. So Essex Police and Kent Police are absolutely fascinating because they offered candidates who failed their interviews a second chance, while strongly advising them to attend workshops with tips on how to pass the interview. So the interviewers and the employers basically have been helping the candidates to cheat. What is the point? So you're giving them the answers, they're strongly advising them to go to these training programs, these not even trainings, workshops to pass the interview, just to make sure they actually pass the interview so they could hit the target and say, hey, we have so many police officers. You can't do this. Like, that means just anybody could just apply to the police without being properly vetted and without their skills and experience being assessed, because you're already giving them the answers to the interview, to the exams and everything else. What is the point of having the interview if you're going to pass them anyway? That's just two places, Essex and Kent. But it continues. West Midlands Police. Oh, dear God. So, when it comes to West Midlands, this is another beauty. They're not conducting proper interviews with candidates in person. A controversial approach that critics believe could allow dangerous individuals to slip the net. They're not even going through an actual interview in person, which is part of the police process, part of the intelligence process, security process. These are sort of things that, in order to become a police officer or work in security or intelligence, you need to be able to conduct them in person, because you have to assess not just the abilities or skills or experience, but also their body language in terms of on a psychological level, and have a proper conversation. But no, you can't really judge them properly if you're not doing an interview in person. This is absolutely chaotic. West Midlands, there's going to be a lot of chaos if they continue with this process. Now, obviously, the Casey review mentioned that they accused the Met of treating rogue officers too leniently, as the Home Secretary Suella pledges to give chiefs extra sacking powers. Because so far, they've allowed a lot of these rogue officers, and let's just call them criminals, as police officers to get away with a lot of things. And now they're going to hire more rogue officers, potentially. So how are they going to be able to have some sort of discipline in the police force in this country? But it's okay. They're going to send them to their laptops and they can check people's mean tweets. And they could just cancel people right, left, and center. This is absolutely chaotic. So another force, Wiltshire Police, claims on its website that applicants must undergo a final interview before they can secure a job policing the region. So the website says, yes, you have to go through a final interview. Well done, Wiltshire Police. But an email from its recruiting team, seen by the Telegraph, recently told an applicant, well, there won't be an interview to complete. This is the end of the process now. You are now a police officer. What is happening here? So on the website, it says something, but when they're actually going through the interview process, the applications and everything else, they get an email saying, nah, you don't need an interview anymore. Everything's fine now. And the applications that you've filled in is good enough. You are now a police officer. This is misleading the public and the Home Office. This is just not healthy. There has to be another review. You had the case review. You need to have another review into these sort of situations, because you cannot allow complacency to continue in our country. Now, Blue Light. Brandon O'Brien, who's part of Blue Light, said, I used to be in the police. Give me any target and I will tell you how to game it. So he's got the experience. He knows how to cheat the system. He basically is saying that if the police want to cheat the system, they can easily cheat the system. He says, forces, for whatever reason, don't feel the need to interview people for a career that is financially going to cost them more than £2 million throughout their lifetime in salary and pension. The Met will take anyone who passes their online assessment center. If you don't do that face-to-face interview, then you're never going to be able to look in the whites of someone's eyes and work out what the values are important to them. That's exactly what I said. You can't. And Brandon O'Brien said he used to be a police officer. He knows that these people can easily cheat the system. And the employers, the interviewers, they are so lazy and they don't really care. They just want to hit the targets and the bureaucratic tick box exercise. They're just going to pass everybody. But as he said, you cannot really tell who someone is properly, or to an extent, if you're not sitting in front of them, having a proper conversation in person. You can't just give them an application from online to just tick. They can get anybody to fill the application. They could get a friend or a neighbor or a cousin who was a police officer to fill the application out for them. This is not how you could do assessment for a so-called civilized Western democracy, Britain. It's embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. But it's important to expose these videos, so feel free to share this with anybody that you know. I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.